Welcome to the Clemson Dubcast, Friday, April 1st. Clemson's attrition situation, injuries and mono and other stuff with the football program. Not an April Fool's joke. Going to be quite a task to put together, I guess, equitable teams to face off with each other for the spring game next week. Plenty of analysis of that through the weekend and more at TigerIllustrated.com. If you haven't signed up, never a better time than right now. My good friends Blake Smith and Brooke Archenhold have been part of the podcast since the beginning, way back in August of 2018. They have an accomplished team of personal injury attorneys at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold based in Greenville. They are Clemson people, and their skillful attorneys have decades of experience in complicated litigation matters, taking a special interest in medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, and neglect, car accident cases that have left the individuals involved in serious trouble. For a free consultation at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold, call 864-990-4581 or online at parhamlaw.com. That's PARHAM law.com. When you're ready for a complete renovation in your home or business, open the door to more with Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Their local experienced team will totally transform any room space, from beautiful floor coverings to construction to finished details. Harris handles every step of your renovation process, whether it's a kitchen or living room or an industrial or educational setting, like some of the positively stunning work they've done at Clemson University. Go to discoverharris.com and experience a total renovation transformation from Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Solero Communications, formerly known as Tandem Payment, is a full-service integrated electronic payments provider powered by leading-edge technology. Solero provides a wide array of merchant solutions, simplified payments. They make onboarding, taking payments, maintaining risk management and compliance, and getting support quick and easy. At Solero, they're all about helping you achieve sustainable growth as a business. Taking payments isn't the only thing your business needs. With Solero's solutions, you can manage inventory, sell products and services via social media, schedule staff, track sales, get reports, and much, much more. Find out more about Solero at solerocommerce.com. That's CELERO commerce.com. Okay, we'll call this the public service episode, I guess you could say. Lieutenant Richard Gooch, longtime member of the Clemson City Police Department, has had a hell of a couple of months. In January, had a heart attack that, had he not been at the hospital in Anderson at the time, probably would not be with us. Then a week later, lost his father, who took his own life. Gooch wanted to come on the podcast to spread awareness about taking care of yourself physically so you don't find yourself in the same situation he was in. Also, the very emergent topic of mental health here in 2022. Tragically, suicide, old people, young people, it's a bit of a trend. And we're going to start out with some high comedy because I've known this guy for years, and just like everybody else, I just call him Gooch. But unlike everybody else, I thought his first name was John. So here we go, warts and all. All right. Joined by my friend John Gooch. How you doing, man?
It's Richard Gooch, but thank you.
It's not John?
No.
Why have I thought?
I don't know.
Have I called you John before?
Nah, you usually call me Gooch. It's fine. I'd keep that. That's comic gold right there.
I'm not even gonna hit stop. I'm not even gonna edit this. Holy crap! I am terrible with names.
No, you're
Richard?
good. You're good. It's Richard.
Oh my gosh!
I like it. It's like an icebreaker.
It puts the pressure on me.
Oh, good, because you can take it off of me right now. It's cool.
What? I'm now like going back through my mental Rolodex of how many times I've referred to you as John Gooch.
You have never called me John Gooch before.
No, but to others.
Oh. That I don't know.
Wow. That takes the cake. I've had some embarrassing situations where I've forgotten somebody's name or called somebody the wrong name, but I've never done it on a podcast, I don't think, in 3 years.
I think it's hilarious.
All right. Richard, all right, Gooch.
Perfect.
A longtime member of this community, a friend of mine, a member of Clemson's city police force for how long?
I just passed my 22nd year. I'm on my 23rd year.
Wow. And you have told me the story of how you ended up here before, and can you refresh me and also enlighten others?
I actually moved here in I got out of the military in 1997, but I moved here for a job with the Anderson City Police Department. And when I got here, my point of contact had retired, and I ended up being waitlisted for that job. I never got it, so I just stayed.
What'd you do in the military?
Military police.
For how long?
I did a 5-year.
Where?
I went to basic training at Fort McClellan, Alabama, which is no longer there. Well, it's still there, but it's not. It's I don't even know what it is now. It's a DOD facility. After graduating, I went to Berlin, Germany. I spent just under 2 years there. And then I was stationed at Fort Belvoir, Virginia, which is right outside of Washington, D.C. And then from there, I went to Panama and Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Did some time down there. And then I moved here in July of 97.
But you went to... Where did you grow up?
Fredericksburg, Virginia.
But you went to Tri-County down here.
I did.
When?
90... Oof. I want to say 98 through 2000.
Okay, so after you got here for the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started with the city of Clemson in November of 99, and I finished up my degree right after I was hired.
Gotcha. And so what's your schedule, your typical schedule right now, work-wise?
I moved to a new job in February of 21. I work Monday through Friday, weekends and holidays off. No, not really. Lately, I've been working 7:30 till about 5:30. We don't have an SRO at Clemson Elementary, and I've been filling in part of that role for the last several weeks.
And previous to the new position, what's the new position?
Excuse me. I'm the lieutenant over investigations and support services. And prior to that, I was a road lieutenant for about 21 years.
So a lot of weekends and...
My wife said we were part-time. I was off every other Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, and I worked every other weekend.
Wow.
I was part-time. We did a lot of... She did a lot of events without me because I was working every other weekend. And I had days off every other week, during the week.
Mm-hmm. So this is not to get too deep into it, but it sounds like a much better job and a maybe more stimulating job as far as investigations go.
I love it. It's to the point now I spend so much time with my family, my wife tells me to get out. Go hang out with your friends. You're here too much.
It's almost, I've always thought in my profession of journalism that there are a lot of similarities between journalism and detective work, investigative work with police force, and that, and feel totally free to correct me if I'm wrong, as you've already corrected me on your first name.
It's funny.
Holy crap! I can't believe it.
It's funny.
In that you're just sort of asking basic open-ended questions of people and just trying to connect dots and fill in gaps as you go along.
That is correct.
And can you elaborate on that?
You're basically trying to figure out the who, what, when, where, why of any case that you get.
How do you... Is there an art to it, getting people to talk to you?
Yes, definitely. You're looking at me. I don't know if I can expand on that.
I mean, this is a general thing. This is not your specific job.
There definitely is. You have to learn how to talk to people, first of all.
Which you're good at.
I've done well. I mean, I had to learn a lot of things in law enforcement the hard way because I was stubborn and young and ignorant. And I learned that I could talk my way out of situations. Instead of having to fight someone or get somebody mad at me, I could talk them down. And then I realized that it's easier for me if I can use my brain and my mouth and talk you down. I don't have to fight you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So the reason that we are here is you have had a hell of a few months
I had a horrible January for sure.
Yeah. Let's. I guess where do you want to start? With you
Sure.
or your father?
Start with me. It kind of unfolds into there's multiple layers to what happened in January and to where I am now.
So, the part that I know and that most of your friends know is that, and again, if I'm wrong, you had a heart attack in 2010.
I was in the pre-stages of heart attack, and we caught it before. It was a question of if, or it was a question of when. The doctor said I was going to have a heart attack, and we actually caught it before that. So I ended up having a stent in 2010.
Mm-hmm. And then fast forwarding to January, you were feeling some of the same things.
Yeah, I woke up. Actually, it was worse. I woke up on the morning of January 5th, probably 2:30, 3 in the morning, and I had really bad, severe chest pains. Got up out of bed, had a glass of water, kind of walked around. I was trying to figure out what it was. Well, then I noticed that my entire left hand went numb, and then the blade edge of my right hand went numb. So I walked into the bedroom, and this is kind of funny, but I said, Jennifer, you need to wake up and don't freak out. And woke my wife up, and she was as cool as the other side of the pillow. She got up, got me some of the old, these things are probably outdated, but the old nitrous, or what are they called? I just drew a blank. Nitroglycerin pills that I had in 2010. She found them. And it was kind of funny. We're not really panic. We're getting ready to panic, but the bottle of nitrous or the nitroglycerin pills is about that big. It's very small, probably no bigger than your thumb. And the writing is so small that I would have had to have a magnifying glass to read it. And my wife can't find her glasses, and she's like, you know what? I don't care. Put this in your mouth. Mm-hmm. I don't care what you do with it. I don't know what you're supposed to do with it. Just put it in your mouth. Chew on it. I don't care. Gets on the phone, calls 911. Everybody's super calm. End up taking an ambulance ride to Anderson Med downtown. And excuse me, I was going to pick that up. And got into the ER that morning and sat there for about 4 hours before they came in about, I think it was about 8:15 in the morning. They came in to tell me we're going to go do some tests at the cath lab, and left the ER and didn't quite make it to the cath lab. I suffered a massive heart attack on the way.
How far is the cath lab from the ER?
I honestly don't know.
But you're getting rolled.
I'm getting pushed in a hospital bed down the hallway. Yeah.
And so then what?
I don't remember. I remember going down the hall, talking to the nurse. I'm on the way I texted my wife, hey, I'm going to get some tests done at the cath lab. She says, hey, I'll be there in a little bit. Cool. Heart-shaped emoji.
So you took the ambulance
to the ER.
And she stayed.
Yeah. She stayed home with Emily. Yeah. My daughter was at home. And I remember going down the hall, talking to the nurse. I don't remember going out, but I remember coming to, I guess, right after. And it felt like your feet fall asleep and then you get those tingles in your foot. Mm-hmm. That's what my head felt like. And I was sweating. And I asked the nurse, I said, what drug did you give me? This is really weird. And I know you probably have to edit this, but she said, we didn't give you a drug. You just had a effing heart attack, and we just brought you back.
Wow.
And I said, brought me back from where? And it got quiet. Completely quiet. So I'm laying in the bed, and I realized, I looked up, and I noticed that the lights were going past, like, fast. And then I realized that they're ramming doors and, pushing people out of the way and yelling. And I remember going into a room with really bright lights. I guess an operating room or some sort of, I don't know. I guess it was an operating room. And I remember them doing the countdown, 3, 2, 1. And I remember going from the bed to the hard, cold metal table. And I remember the woman saying, "Don't move your arm." I said, "Well, what is going on? Like, what's happening?" And the lady said, "You just had a heart attack. We're going to fix it." Okay, sounds good. And I was kind of freaking out. I didn't know, still didn't process what was going on until she actually said it. And the next thing I remember, I woke up in recovery in a room watching TV.
How long?
Sometime that afternoon.
Yep. So, had you been at home?
No telling. The doctor called my wife, who was on her way, and told her that had I not been where I was, I probably wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. There's no telling. We don't know, but I made the joke, and it really wasn't funny. But after I did it, I said, "If you're going to have a heart attack, do it in the cardio wing of a hospital. Leave the ER on the way to the cath lab, and have a heart." It's not really funny, but where else could I have such quality of care in that situation?
Mm-hmm. And so, what was the experience like in 2010?
2010, I was working night shift, and I was a smoker back then. I chain smoked pack a day, 2 packs a day. And we were on a call, and I just remember I was sitting still, and it felt like my heart felt like I ran a marathon. It felt like my heart was jumping out of my chest. So I worked the rest of the night, and I went home, and I told the oncoming supervisor that something wasn't right in my heart. I felt like I was running a marathon, and my heart was, beating. It seemed like it was pretty fast. And she said, "Well, you probably need to go to the hospital." And I said, "Well, now, I'm going to go home and sleep on it. I'll see how I feel." And I went home, fell asleep. I took a nap, and I woke up about 2 hours later, just covered in sweat, and my heart was still racing, even though I had been sleeping. So I called my wife, and one thing led to another, and I ended up in urgent care in Clemson. And my blood pressure was through the roof, and the lady basically said, "Can someone drive you to Anderson, or do you want us to call you an ambulance?" And when I got to Anderson, they found out that I had several blockages. I had 3 blockages back then.
And then surgery?
I had a stent I think it was a 95%, an 85%. I think there was a 60%. I was stented for the 95 and medicated for the others.
Gotcha. So what was when you walked away from that in 2010, what were your revelations at the time? What was your sort of outlook? I'm sure you had a new outlook at the time.
I did. I started eating right, started walking, started trying to get into better shape. Lost some weight, and I felt really great for a long time.
How much did you weigh before that in 2010, and then how much weight did you lose?
Honestly, don't remember.
Ballpark.
Back then, I was probably in the 260, 265 maybe.
And you lost?
Probably lost 10, 12 pounds back then.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't as long lasting, I guess, looking back as you just thinking back to maybe what you should have done. I guess I think I remember a conversation I was having with you maybe a month ago of you were serious about it, but not serious enough.
I think I was serious about it, and then over time I lost track of where I was and what I was trying to do. And in 2022, I was actually worse than I was in 2010. If that makes sense.
Well, how so?
I was up to about 294, and I had a heart attack.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably the worst it could have gotten. Had a near fatal heart attack, and I weighed in at 294. My last cardiologist visit, and December of last year.
December of last year. And so you were regular seeing a cardiologist. And what'd they tell you on that last visit that you can remember?
Lose some weight, and they'd see me again in 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing about what I was about to experience for sure.
And then the surgery this time was.
I got a new stent.
New stent.
Yes.
And then I remember talking to you recently, and you came out of that with a different perspective than you had in 2010, at least as I recall.
Yeah, initially I came out of it petrified, just completely scared. Scared to eat, scared of... It kind of gave me a new outlook on life. I didn't want to eat. There were times right afterwards I wouldn't eat anything. I started starving myself. It was, the best way I can explain it was, I was petrified. I was scared.
Of everything.
Of everything. I went on to like a fear diet. I'm not eating that. I'm not drinking that. No, I'm not doing that. Everything was out of fear. I instantly quit drinking caffeine, sodas, sweet tea, started drinking water, which apparently you have to have to survive. I didn't know this. I'm just kidding. Stopped eating fast food, fried food. Started eating more. I mean, just instantly, it was overnight. Changed my entire diet in the course of several days. And was just, initially, it was out of fear. I was just scared to do what I used to do because I did not want to repeat 2010 or what happened in January of this year.
And how long did that last? That fear, like all-consuming fear that you had?
I think the fear went away, but I'm still mindful of what I put into my body. I'm still pretty much on the same diet that I instigated on January 5th, but it's less out of fear. And I'm learning more about nutrition and my body and, just making better decisions. And that's gone a long way.
So what is the diet and what are the decisions that you're having to make?
I used to skip breakfast. I started eating a couple egg white bites in the morning, have some fruit, yogurt. A couple hours later, I eat some almonds, have some nuts, have a sensible lunch, have a good salad, some chicken, and then eat a sensible dinner. But hold on, sorry. But literally stopped eating fast food, fried food. Try not to eat a lot of breads, but haven't ruled it out. And I just make better decisions with what I'm eating.
What was your diet before?
Fast food, fried food. No, I didn't make good decisions. I work an office job. I ate out a lot. Burger King, Wendy's, McDonald's, and just never, didn't make good decisions.
Like once a day?
A couple times a week. 2-3 times a week at times. It was easy. It was fast, quick. I'm on the run. Let's just grab a burger, things like that.
Like quarter pounder, supersize, big old
double Whopper
gigantic,
with cheese.
Double Whopper with cheese.
Sure.
Big old Coke.
Yes. Well, sweet tea.
Sweet tea. And so, how much weight have you lost?
That is at one time I weighed over 300 pounds, but I can only confirm that I weighed 294, but I'm down to 274 right now currently.
You. Excellent.
And hoping to lose some more.
What's the goal?
I actually don't know. I have an appointment in May. I have to check my calendar, but I'm going to meet with my cardiologist and try to figure out where I'm supposed to be.
Have you met with your cardiologist since then?
Yes. I met with him 2 or 3 weeks ago.
And what are the marching orders?
Put me on some new medication and a little bit closer monitoring. My blood pressure was good. It's still good. And instead of seeing me in 9 months, he's going to see me in May. Mm-hmm. We're not waiting until September.
Is there any family history of heart disease? Or
I'm sure there is at some point. I'm pretty sure it's hereditary, but I think that the one thing that I've been outspoken about is that I feel that I caused this for myself, not a family member. I blame myself for this.
How long were you in the hospital?
I was only in the hospital. I went in January 5th at 4 a.m. I left on the 6th around noon.
Gotcha.
All my numbers had stabilized. Everything checked out. My blood pressure was good, and they let me leave. I was supposed to be there 4 days. I was there a day.
Can you describe, for those of us who don't know, what the process entails of putting a stent in? What is that?
Wow, I didn't know you were going to ask me that. The stent I had in 2010, they went through, I assume I think it was my femoral artery, mm-hmm. and they send up a scope with a balloon, mm-hmm. and they put a device in that expands and opens up the wall of your artery. In 2022, they went through the top of my right hand, right by my pointer finger, like right here.
This is probably a really stupid question, but what kept you from having to do like bypass surgery? Do you have any sort of knowledge of?
No,
because I just hear it on a general level, like, oh yeah, such and such had to have a
triple bypass. Yeah, no, I have no
people
clue.
Who are in serious trouble.
I would hope that the guy that did my surgery knew what he was doing, and the stent is all I needed. I really don't know.
How long was it before you were able to go back to work?
My initial paper from the doctor said 2 weeks. And I never made it to the second week on that.
What was it like going back after a week?
No, I never made it back to work. I didn't go back to work for over a month.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. I thought you said you didn't make it to the second week.
No, I made it through my first week out of work after my stent and my heart attack. And then my father passed away a week later.
That's right.
I was still on leave for that.
That's right. That gets into what we were going to talk about next. But you, as far as your situation with your heart attack goes, one of the reasons you're here with me is you want to help others avoid the same thing you went through and encourage them to avoid it at as much as they can. So can you just maybe reflect on that and what you would like to say specifically to people out there who might be in a similar situation?
The main thing I wanted to tell people is don't ignore any signs or symptoms that you may be having. Get checked out, and trust me on this. It's worth letting someone know. I can't even express how much of a burden it put on my family and my daughter, my wife, who's been, a godsend through this. We've had a horrific January, but my wife's been just there. I mean, she was there the whole time. But I could have ignored this. A lot of men do. They ignore the signs and symptoms, and maybe it's indigestion. Well, maybe you're about to have a heart attack. If you're having symptoms, go get checked out. Call the doctor. Go get a physical. Do something. Just don't ignore it.
So, a week? It was a week after you got out of the hospital when your father?
Yeah, I went in the hospital January 5th, and my father went missing on January 11th of this year.
I don't know how much of that you're comfortable talking about. So it just, what was the, can you just take me step by step through?
Yeah, on the it was Tuesday the 11th, my brother calls me and tells me that my father's missing. And of course I said, well, where is he? You know,
Is this Fredericksburg?
In Fredericksburg, yeah. My father had been dealing with depression and thoughts of suicide and things like that. And my mother last saw him that morning on the 11th. And then when she came home from work that evening, he wasn't home. So she called my brother, and my brother actually found his truck at the boat docks in downtown Fredericksburg. And he didn't want to, it was funny, he didn't want to call me because he knew I had a heart attack, and he didn't want to put any added stress in my life. And long story short, he went missing on the 11th, and they found him dead on the 12th, a week later.
A week? You said the 12th?
No, I'm sorry. A week after my heart attack, they found him.
Gotcha. Your brother lives in Fredericksburg?
Yes, he actually lives in Spotsylvania County, but it's right near Fredericksburg.
What's your father's name?
Robert Gooch.
How old was he?
I'm 47. He would have been 68 this year in September.
Tell me about him. Before I hit record, you were telling me about his musical interest and seeing the Allman Brothers 20-something times.
Yeah, he was always the life of the party. Quick with a joke, great smile, just a fun-loving. Never met a stranger. He could have fun at an insurance seminar. I mean, just outgoing, outspoken, funny, very lovable guy. He loved music. He was a big Allman Brothers fan. He was into the blues, Stevie Ray Vaughan. I mean, I could name all of them.
How early did your dad introduce you to the Allman Brothers and a lot of his?
I can remember that all the way back to when I was a child. But the funny thing I do remember is my dad remarried when I was 6 or 7, and they get in the car. We go shopping. They get in the car afterwards, turn the car on, and it's Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin. And my stepmother, I don't like to call her stepmother, my mother reaches over and turns the station. And I remember my dad going, "It's Led Zeppelin. What are you doing? Stairway to Heaven, come on." And he's always just been a music guy. And I got probably 90% of my musical taste from him. Definitely, for sure.
What do you like?
I listen to more metal now, but I grew up on the Allman Brothers and Stevie Ray Vaughan, Robert Johnson, Little Feat, Leonard Skinner, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, all those I got from my father.
Have you seen the Leonard Skinner documentary on Netflix?
I have not. I saw the advertisement for it, but I haven't watched it.
It's one of the best
Is it good?
rock documentaries you'll ever see.
I will definitely check it out. I have Netflix and 14 other streaming services.
Can you just take me back to January when you're trying to piece everything back together yourself with your family, with your health, and were there any warnings? I mean, I think you mentioned that he had some depression and suicidal thoughts, I guess, but how far back did that go, and how much of a surprise was it?
It was a complete and utter shock, but now that he's no longer with us, we can sit back and take our time to try to figure it out. 2021 is where I think it started, but we can actually track it probably back 2008, 2010, when he retired from General Motors. And we have time to piece this thing together. But it seemed like in 2021 it all came about. I know I'm not making sense. we thought it all happened in 2021, but now that we're sitting and thinking about it, it seemed like a downhill spiral back in probably 2008.
So it all culminated.
I think so. I honestly think that me as a son, I think we underestimated what was going on, and I don't think we understood it. And now that we have all this free time, everything makes sense. Dating back to 2010, he retires from General Motors, 30 years. He gets down, at the beginning of his retirement, he was down. He didn't see his friends every day and his coworkers that he loved, and he went down. Well, he gets another job, works there for a couple years.
Where?
He worked at Hobby Lobby. They built a Hobby Lobby not far from where he lives, and he took a part-time job at Hobby Lobby, and he loved it. And he worked there for several years, and then he was working, I want to say 20 hours a week, and he was in heaven, worked 2 or 3 days a week, loved it. They got a new manager. His hours were cut back. He quit Hobby Lobby. It seemed like he sunk a little more. He went a little south. My grandmother died in 2010.
His mother.
He got real down about that. And then it just seemed that we noticed it more in 2020, 21, but we kind of mapped it out and we kind of saw where it was. I don't think we understood it or picked up on it then, but we're feeling the effects of it now.
In the moment, what are you noticing?
He went from basically, it was night and day. He went from this fun-loving class clown, jokester to very quiet, secluded. Actually expressed that he was depressed. He just wasn't himself, if that makes sense. It was a definite night and day from what we knew him as to where he was.
And then now, at present, what are y'all? You said free time has allowed y'all.
Yeah, I mean, he's no longer with us, and now that we can sit around and, I don't know, like detectives piece this whole thing together, it all makes sense now. But I still think that I underestimated it. I didn't understand it. I wish I would have done more, and I wish I would have picked up on the signs, and I wish I would have. If there was more I could have done, I wish I would have done it because he'd still be here. All right, I don't know that he would still be here, but I.
You talk about what you could have done. What is it? I mean, is there really anything that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's you play this coulda, shoulda, woulda, and I don't know. I wish I would have called him more. I wish I would have. I don't know. I wish I would have lived closer. I live 8 hours away, and I wish I would have visited more. But I can't do any of those things. We're past that.
If you're in the Eastern Midlands and PD area and you're in any way interested in buying and selling a home, commercial property, land, need to consider reaching out to Uptown Realty. They're based out of Sumter and run by a friend of mine, Patrick Enzer, big Clemson guy, used to cover the Tigers in a newspaper capacity, longtime supporter of Tiger Illustrated, longtime listener to the Dubcast. The home buying process should be an enjoyable experience, so let Patrick and his staff do all the heavy lifting. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call 803-774-0435 or go to uptownrealtysc.com. Want to share a quick word about Founders Federal Credit Union? If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers. In addition to that, all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership as well as IPTAY members. Matt Gross is a proud Clemson alum and the vice president for the Clemson market for Founders Federal Credit Union. Matt's office is located beside the Walmart Neighborhood Market on Old Greenville Highway in Clemson. For more information, go to foundersfcu.com. Another Another loyal supporter of the Dubcast is Blackacre Law Firm in Greenville, a subsidiary of Parham Smith and Archenhold. Blackacre helps South Carolina residents achieve their dreams of home ownership by providing experienced professional representation for real estate closings. Attention to detail is crucial in real estate law. Blackacre is committed to making sure nothing gets by them preparing residential or commercial closings. Blackacre also offers estate planning services for their clients in the Greenville area. Find out more about Blackacre at 864-326-3507. It's really interesting, the whole sort of notion of, retirement and all that. In the course of most of the people I talk to for the podcast are involved with athletics and football, and a fairly common topic is, football players they're never prepared for the end, and their end comes when they're, 24, 25,
right.
30, if they're lucky. And it's not like, it's not like they have a grasp of, okay, this is going to end pretty soon, and I need to be ready. And their whole identity is different. They have to find a new identity, I guess, because their whole sense of who they've been, their whole lives has been defined by, they've been better than everybody else on a field or a court or whatever. And so, what I relate that to is they're going through the same sort of identity crisis that most people have to confront only when they're 65 or in their, or older. But it sounds like just not having a purpose. You mentioned your dad's friends at work, not being around them. It's like, what do you do? Like, it's so hard to really figure out.
It was funny when we went to his service, and I was at the service in Virginia, and it was monopolized by former GM coworkers, dozens and dozens. The older crews that he worked with, the people he worked with, the younger generations of GM workers, they were all of them were there.
What did he do there?
I honestly don't know. I know his plant made parts for, it was a AC Delco plant. Mm-hmm. It was called Delco Moraine. They made parts for, I believe it was brake pads for General Motors.
Mm-hmm. So when did you just have to pick up and go in January when, and I guess refresh me, your brother called and he was missing. And then what?
They had some inclement weather, the week leading up to this. There was snow on the ground. It was really cold. They were bringing in crews from Spotsylvania County Sheriff's Office, the Fredericksburg Police Department, Stafford County, and they had issues with. I didn't realize that the Rappahannock River has a tide, high tide and low tide. And that evening they were at low tide, and they couldn't get the boats in the water because of the low tide. They had ice and snow on the boat docks, so they were having issues getting the equipment into the water. And they had drones. They were using really nice drones with infrared, FLIR, things like that. And they called the search about 11:30 that night because they couldn't get the assets into the water. And they said they were going to resume at the next high tide, which would have been the next morning. And the next morning when they started, it wasn't an hour or two, they found him in the water.
And where were you at this time?
I was sitting here in Clemson, South Carolina.
So your brother...
He called. He was with one of the investigators from Spotsylvania County. He called, and as soon as I answered the phone, like we were in a waiting game anyway. We knew that the search was going to be resumed that morning, but as soon as the phone rang, I knew what it was. But he called me about 12. I think it was about 12:20 on Wednesday, and told me that they had found my father floating in the Rappahannock, found him dead.
Do we know what he did?
I don't know that we'll ever know. He had expressed at one point or multiple times that he was going to end his life. And the way he expressed he was going to end it was by jumping into water. And his death certificate, unfortunately, says suicide by drowning.
Who did he share this with?
He expressed it to my mother on several occasions.
Did she share that with y'all at the time?
I didn't hear that until the night before when my brother called me. It was the first time I had ever heard that.
And how do you process that when you hear that?
I don't know. I still think I'm trying to process that, but I don't know. He was my dad was a Labrador Retriever. He was born on the water. They lived in Stafford, Virginia, on Aquia Creek. He loved the water. He always wanted to be in water. And I think when it came to that time in his life, with the pain and suffering and the things he was dealing with, he chose his own method, and he ended up in the water. And it's kind of funny when we had I think about it now, but when we had two services. We had one in Fredericksburg and we had one in here in Clemson. And one of his, I don't want to say dying wishes, but one of his wishes years ago that he expressed was he wanted to be cremated, and he wanted his remains to be dispersed off of Madden Bridge in Central. So we gave him one last Jeep ride, and we drove him to Madden Bridge in Central, and we dispersed his ashes off the bridge. So he was born on water. He loved the water. He took his life in the water, and then we dispersed his ashes in the water at his wishes. So I think unfortunately, he did what he wanted to do, the way he wanted to go.
Did he spend a lot of time down here on the water?
He used to come down here 2-3 times a year, and he always wanted to be on Lake Hartwell. He always wanted to be in the water swimming or kayaking or doing something in water.
So where would y'all take him?
To the rowing docks.
Over the university.
Yeah.
Rowing docks, just hang out.
Don't tell it. We shouldn't talk about that place. It's secret. It's our little secret place.
So what was it like having to pick up and go up there? I mean, I guess you were up there for...
I was up there about 9 or 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
It was rough. I was notified on Wednesday, and I broke down. I was crying, just convulsing, just the worst tears ever. And then I stopped. I stood up, and I wiped my tears off, and I said, I got to go to Virginia. And my wife's like, dude, crying's free. That was it? Like, that's all you're going to do? And I said, no, I got to go. And I packed up, and I left the next morning, about 7:15 in the morning.
By yourself?
Yeah, I drove up by myself. The other funny part of that was my mother said, you just had a heart attack. Can you physically make this drive? And I said, I don't know, but I've got more blood and oxygen pumping through my heart now, so we're gonna give it a whirl.
How hard was that? With both things confronting you at once?
It seems like the heart attack took a backdoor to my father's death, and my focus was to go up there and be with my family, and it was really going into the unknown because I had never, excuse me, I've always, you have a family member die, you go to a funeral, you pay your last respects, and then it's over and you move on. But I actually had to be a part of. Not had to. I was a part of planning this service through every step of it. what he wants to be cremated. What do we want to do for this? What are we going to do for that? Where do we want to have the service? And I actually was a part of it, and it was really hard because I had no clue what I was doing. I've never done this before, so it was all new to me, and new to my family.
Is your mother still in Fredericksburg?
She is.
Does she have a good support network up there?
My brother and my niece and some nephews are up there, and I'm here. I talk to her a couple times a week, and on the weekends, Emily likes to FaceTime her on the weekends, and they have their little, their time together.
How deeply and seriously did you think about just the general topic of suicide before this? Not necessarily strictly related to your father, but I'm just curious how much you thought about it before and what you made of it, I guess.
Never. I don't think I ever really thought about it. My dad had made some comments over the last year, and I didn't take it. I don't know if I just didn't take it seriously, or I didn't understand what he was going through. But I can tell you this from experience, it's the most powerful thing that I've ever dealt with in my life. I've had the two, I'm trying to be selfish, but I've had the two most traumatic events of my life within a week of each other, and one being the death of my father. But it's one of the most powerful things, and I still don't understand it at all. I want to, I really do, but this whole experience, I put my father to rest, and it still lingers.
Yeah, it hadn't been that long.
No. I think I'm trying to remember, we had the service. It was a week and a half after he passed away, and then we had another service a week later. So it's end of January, early February.
You said he had said some things. Are you referring to what he had said to your mother, or he said to you as well?
I don't remember him ever saying that to me, but from what I understand, he had made the comments to my mother, and I heard about it on the 11th when my brother called. It's the first time I knew that he had expressed that. So when I'll back up to this, but the day my dad went missing, my brother went and drove around town looking the places that he would have gone. And they found his truck at the city boat docks in Fredericksburg. My dad liked to go down there and read the paper and drink his coffee. And in the summer, he'd put his kayak in and go kayaking and things like that. Well, when my brother went to the city docks, my father's truck was parked in the parking lot. And one thing led to another. When they filed the missing persons report, they brought in canine dogs. I think Spotsylvania, or it might have been Fredericksburg. But the dog tracked from the door of the truck to the edge of the water. Mm. And then they brought in I think it was Virginia State Police dog, and he tracked from the door of the truck to the edge of the water, and then went down the bank, and then stopped.
Mm. How much of a? I imagine I can only imagine that it has to be just a roller coaster mentally every day, as you're still so closely removed from that event and those events, I guess I should say.
Sure. It is. We went to what were we doing? We went to a basketball tournament with my daughter, and they won the league championship.
When?
This would have been the early February, maybe late January. And I pulled out my phone on the way home, and I was excited. My daughter won the championship. Her team won. And I pulled out my iPhone, and I hit, I created a message, and I put Robert Gooch and my mom. I started uploading pictures into the message. And then I looked down, and I just burst into tears and started crying. And my wife's like, what's your problem? And I was like, I'm texting my dad. Mm-hmm. And she was like, oh, sorry. She didn't know. And it's just little things, listen to a song, something that reminds me of him, of a memory, see a picture of him. Just little things trigger me. And I know my mom's going through a lot right now with the whole thing. And when I talk to her, she gets triggered by literally everything. Mm. She was joking the other day. She said, I was putting gas in my car and I broke down at the pump. I'm like, why? And she's like, because I've never put gas in my car. Your father always filled my car up for me. Mm-hmm. Like, well, I get that. I'm pushing why am I pushing the shopping cart in the grocery store? Your father always pushed the car for me. So my mom has lots of triggers, and I have some too. But mom's really going through a hard time with this, and understandably.
What songs?
Any of the aforementioned bands that we talked about, especially Allman Brothers. Anytime I hear Allman Brothers, I go to the next song or next station.
Mm-hmm. And how do you tell your child what happened? How did you deal with that?
I picked her up from school on that Wednesday, and I basically just said, I don't know how to say this, but I'm just going to say it. Papa G's dead. He's no longer with us. I don't know how else to put it. Now, I didn't go into the how. I just told her that he had passed away. And I checked on her after that periodically throughout the rest of the day. And she seemed like she was fine, but I don't think she understood it or could process it. And then later that evening, I went to put her to bed, and she was, bawling, crying. And I looked at her mom, and I was like, what's her problem? And my wife's like, you know what her problem is. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, excuse me. I was like, well, she hasn't shown anything all day. I wasn't sure. And it kind of hit her that evening. And then even recently, she's questioning it, and I really don't know how to explain this to a child. I have no clue. I've never been down this road. But my wife and my daughter were having a talk the other day, and we had to put our dog down in March of 2020, and my wife was trying to explain it that way, and my daughter said, "Well, the dog was in pain and he was suffering, and that's what Papa G did." And it was like, yeah, there you go. That's what happened. So she kind of knows, but I don't know if she really understands it, but she does know that he took his own life. And I think she understands that he's no longer suffering and he's no longer in pain.
How old is she?
She will be 10 in June.
How close was she to him?
They were as close as you can be, living 7.5 hours away. My daughter, when all this happened in 2021, we always made a point to FaceTime, not just my Papa G, but her grandparents, my wife's parents. So we always FaceTimed them on Saturday or Sunday every week consistently.
Is there anything? I mean, you shared earlier about your going through the heart attack and all that sort of words of wisdom. Is there anything? Are you far enough removed from it where you can share wisdom on this on the topic of how to handle something like that with losing a parent or a loved one who is going through a tough time, but you just don't really know how to deal with it?
Honestly, I don't know. The only thing I really want to share is if you're having similar signs or symptoms, get checked out. Go see a doctor. Don't ignore it. But with the family, with my dad's passing, try to get your loved ones help. Talk to them. If you're dealing with problems, if you have issues or thoughts of suicide or depression, talk to somebody, call somebody. I don't know. I sit now and I don't even know how to explain this. I play the what if game a lot.
The natural reaction.
Yeah. I wish I would have, I don't know. I know I can't do it. My wife said, don't beat yourself up about it. We can't fix this now, but I wish I would have done more, said more, or understood it more. And, maybe could have maybe could have helped, maybe not. I don't know, but I just wish that I wish I understood it and didn't discount it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The thing is, had he died of something else, had he not taken his life, he would still be confronted with the same. I wish I would have called him more.
Sure.
And he, just the loss itself.
Yeah, definitely.
Anybody who knows you and your wife knows y'all are fun-loving, great humored people, always with a joke, even during tough times. Has it been difficult to with something some things so heavy like this, sort of maintaining that? Oh yeah, the joking, and it's a positive attribute, extremely positive to be able to do that.
I thought it was funny. I have a lot of watches, and over the last 2 or 3 weeks, every watch I own has died. And I don't understand it because they all have different batteries that were put in at different times, and all of them died within, it seemed like a week or two after my dad's second service. And I said, all my watches are dead. This is weird. My wife said, well, maybe it's your father talking to you. And I said, well, what does he have against wristwatches? I don't know. All my watches, died within a week of each other.
Have you had to, you mentioned your daughter played youth basketball, won championship. On the shift into the sports context, have you noticed an unhinged nature of youth sports, an increase in that of the intensity of it, of the crowd, of the harsh nature of the entire atmosphere?
I went to the 10U All-Star game in Walhalla, South Carolina, and there were 8 parent or fan ejections in. Yes.
What?
No, actually, I'm sorry. It was 7. The one woman was removed twice, which makes 8.
In one game?
No, in a series of, I think it was 3 or 4 games. We got there at 8 or 9 in the morning, and we finished at 4 in the afternoon. And there were 8 ejections in that tournament alone.
Yelling at the refs, mainly, or
stepping on the court, getting in the refs' face, getting in coaches' faces, screaming obscenities,
their own coach?
Fighting.
The other coach?
No, I think it was the opposing coach.
What is going on?
I don't know. It's funny when you walk into the arena in Walhalla. There's a fan code of conduct right when you walk inside the door, and I don't know if people didn't see it or couldn't read it or what. But 8 ejections. The one lady was ejected twice, but she made 8.
7 people. 7 humans.
7 humans. One was ejected twice.
But it's not just, even here I've heard, and this is all just stuff I've heard, but in Clemson Central, there now has to be cops stationed at every game because of some fight that broke out.
There recently. I believe it was a coach was punched in the face by a fan.
What?
And then I think it was the next week, a parent got on the court. They said, hey, you can't be on the court. You have to leave. She said, well, I'm not leaving. You can't make me. And they said, you know what? You're right. So they canceled all the games
Wow.
and kicked everyone out of the gym. And I assume they left her standing on the court, being proud of what she had just accomplished.
This is insane. Like, a part of me, the optimistic side of me, which I hope is the dominant side of me, is, okay, the entire world is not going crazy. It's just, you see a lot of crazy stuff because everybody has a cell phone, and so you see a higher frequency of that stuff. But then it's like you hear this. Like, this wasn't what it was like when I was growing up, or even 5 years ago, I don't think, or was it?
I don't know, but that All-Star tournament in Walhalla, we almost didn't play the championship game. Excuse me. We almost didn't play the championship game because we didn't think it was safe for our children and our players to play.
Safe from what?
The opposing team.
What were they doing?
One of the parents said this isn't fundamental or basketball. This is rugby on a hardwood.
Oh, it was just a roughness.
It was very, 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 it was violent. It was kids pushing and kids throwing each other. And we saw a girl throw a temper tantrum on the court, laying on her back, kicking her feet. She kicked another player and screamed and flailed her arms like a child.
Apparently, statistically, there's been an exodus of referees just deciding they're not going to do it anymore. Or so,
That is correct.
Not here, but everywhere. I heard a college, I think it was Kirby Smart, was talking to a group in Macon a couple of weeks ago, and he said that it was statistically there's like an alarming percentage of the officiating force is hanging it up, and the chief reason that they actually polled the ones who are leaving and asked why, and the dominant reason is lack of sportsmanship, and it's wild.
I have heard that as well. That's true.
Richard, is there anything else you'd like to? Gooch.
Too soon.
I can't. I mean, I've known you for a while. I guess I've just called you Gooch the entire time.
That's funny.
And there was never a chance to be corrected.
No, you've never called me John till today.
Well, man, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your service to the community.
Thank you.
For more than 2 decades. Thank you for your willingness to share in the immediate aftermath of 2 just experiences not many people can imagine going through.
No, thank you. I really appreciate you letting me do this, letting me have an audience. I hope it helps someone, and I wanted this to be meaningful. I might have sounded like a babbling idiot, and I'm nervous.
Not at all.
But I wanted to be meaningful and have purpose. And I realized, I said it the other day to a friend of mine, I said, I messed up the first 47 years of my life, and now I have to earn the rest of it. And I owe it to you, and I owe it to my family and my friends and my Cuban cousins and everybody in Clemson, because when this all happened, this community really just came out of the woodwork for me and my family, and it's really humbling, and I don't know how to thank people enough. We ordered a bunch of thank you cards, and I don't think that's enough. I want to be a better person, and I want to help people, and I hope that this can help someone, touch someone, and change somebody's life for the better. And I want to thank you, and I want to say, if I can do a bunch of shout outs.
Of course. We got time.
No, I want to thank the Clemson community. A lot of our mutual friends were just really all in for, helping us. And I want to thank my wife, who has been, I don't think anybody's asked her how she's doing through all this.
That's one.
I think I asked her once. I'm not really sure if I did, but she's been a rock through this entire ordeal. And I want to thank Rob McDavid, and I really don't know why. Just figured I'd throw his name out for no reason.
Because he has a cool truck.
He does have a cool truck. But no, seriously, thank you for letting me do this and, giving me your time.
All right. Thanks to Richard Gooch. Very important perspective there. Some very difficult things to talk about for sure. But hopefully his words and experience can help some of y'all out there listening. Appreciate the support of our sponsors for being a part of this, helping make it happen. Most of all, thanks to all of you for hitting that play button. Really appreciate it. Cheers.